Austin A-List represents some of Austin's most visionary founders and enterprising companies. These entrepreneurs and teams develop innovative technologies and business models that have the potential to create market shifts in their respective industries.
Good afternoon and welcome to our third and final installment of the Austin A-List Up Close and Personal series. I'm Will Coombs, head of Global Core Design and Austin site leader for Visa, and I'm thrilled to be with you again. If you weren't able to join the other sessions, keep an eye on the Chamber website for recordings from the entire series. Yesterday, we announced the winners of the Spotlight Awards and the Tech and Innovation Awards for companies with 11 to 50 employees. And this morning, we announced the winners of the Tech and Innovation companies with 51 to 199 employees. And in a few minutes, we'll learn the winners of the Tech and Innovation companies with 10 or fewer employees, as well as our Ace in the Hole and Top Tech Team Awards. Over the last two sessions, we've had the opportunity to hear from some truly inspiring leaders about what this pandemic has meant for their business and how they've shifted to deal with the problems that no one could have foreseen. This afternoon will be no different. But before we get into that content, I want to introduce Lee Christie, Senior Vice President of Global Technology and Innovation with the Austin Chamber, to tell us a little bit more about the A-List Awards. Over to you, Lee.
Thanks so much, Will. And thanks to all of you for joining us for our third and final session of the 2020 A-List series, Up Close and Personal. This event marks the culmination of the 9th annual A-List Awards, brought to you by the Austin Chamber and South by Southwest. This year's event is a virtual series. It's anchored by timely conversations with local leaders and an awards program that highlights and celebrates our local tech and innovative companies. You know, A-List companies exemplify what it is to be unique. They're collaborative, they attract talent from around the globe, and they attract those who want to be a part of something big. In our last event, over the last 2 days, we will continue. I'm so sorry. We actually have had two events already that have celebrated founders, entrepreneurs, and companies, and that's exactly what we're going to do for you just now. So now I do want to share, though, a little bit about the Chamber. You know, I've had the pleasure of working with the Chamber for the last 3 years, and I truly can't say enough about our passionate group of a team and those who really lead in this community. You know, the Chamber's mission and focus is creating widespread economic health for our region, and we help create an environment that attracts skilled employees and allows businesses to grow. Our mission is Austin, and we're excited that you're here with us today. I can't wait to hear from the panelists that are up next as they share what they have done during these times to innovate and thrive. I'm also excited to learn more about this year's award recipients. But first, let's say thanks to our sponsors. Thank you to our generous support, those who have generously supported us and made this year's event possible. Your commitment and your generosity reflects the unique collaborative spirit of our tech and innovation community. So first, thank you to our presenting sponsor, Visa. Thank you to our reception sponsor, Deloitte. And our speaker sponsor is the Toronto Stock Exchange. We're thrilled to have Google and Google Fiber here with us as our award sponsor. And we also have Independence Title Company and Wells Fargo as our award sponsors. And last but certainly not least, our corporate sponsor is Ascension Seton. It's with these partners that has made today possible. So thank you again. Now, please join me in welcoming my friend and yours, Hugh Forrest. Hugh is the Chief Programming Officer for South by Southwest. As you know, South by has been an incredible partner for A-List for these last 9 years. And there's no doubt that Hugh's work at South by has been instrumental in creating a highly successful brand of innovation, not just in the Austin region, but abroad. So Hugh, I'm going to hand it over to you, and hopefully you won't mess up like I did. Nothing like a live performance. Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you, Lee, for the very nice intro, and you didn't mess up anything, so don't worry. Again, my name is Hugh Forrest, and I'm the Chief Programming Officer at South by Southwest. It has been our honor at South by Southwest to work closely with the Austin Chamber on Austin A-List for the last several years. We think it's a great fit because so much of the mission of Austin A-List in terms of recognizing outstanding creativity, Innovation and entrepreneurial passion aligns with the mission of South by Southwest. And speaking of South by Southwest, let me remind you that if you are interested in speaking at the 2021 event, the panel picker speaking proposal process is now open, and it stays open until the end of the day on Friday, October 16th. Also, for all the entrepreneurs who are out there watching this afternoon, please note that the application process for South by Southwest Pitch 2021 opens on Tuesday, October 20th. That application for South by Southwest Pitch will stay open until Friday, January 8th. South by Southwest Pitch is our in-house startup competition. And over the years, we've been blessed to have some fantastic startups as finalists, ranging from Siri to current Austin buzz startups, Icon and Tanky. Find out more about the South by Southwest panel picker, and about South by Southwest Pitch, and about everything that's planned for South by Southwest Online 2021 at www.sxsw.com, or you can always just email me at hugh@sxsw.com. Now back to this afternoon's activities. Yesterday, we had a fantastic session about innovating during challenging times. This morning, we had another great session on leading through adversity and our path forward. I think this third and final session of Austin A-List 2020 will be even more compelling. This third and final session is titled Growing a Thriving Team and Business with Persistence. But before we introduce the all-star lineup of speakers for this afternoon's session, let's watch this short video with insightful thoughts from a handful of Austin's top entrepreneurial leaders.
There is a hard and soft side of business. The hard side includes things like finance, market data, and exposure to risk. The soft side includes style, skills, and shared values. Arguably, it's the softer side of business that's harder to get right. What character traits define exceptional entrepreneurs in our new normal?
As the leaders in our last video shared, there are many character traits that define exceptional entrepreneurs. And we've seen the way that companies have had to adjust radically and quickly, especially during COVID. There's a requirement for persistence, for resilience, for creativity. And more importantly, the leadership characteristics that we need during this time more than ever require an emphasis on being human-centered, transparent, and empathetic. And I hope everyone looked at my favorite quote from that, which was needing to be able to be a glass eater. I'm definitely going to work that phrase into my vocabulary moving forward. Before we get into the next panel, though, let me introduce to you someone who is exceptional, who will walk you through the panel introduction, and then get into our next awards. Emily, are you there? It's over to you.
Hi, I'm Emily Rollins. I'm proud to be here to represent the over 800 audit, assurance, advisory, tax, and consulting professionals who call Austin home. While I'm disappointed that we won't be able to host the in-person reception this year, I'm excited about how this event has been transformed from our large live ceremony to a content-rich online version. This has been made possible through the dedication of the Austin Chamber of Commerce's Innovation Steering and Nominating Committees. And now it's time to turn the program over to a stellar lineup of technology and innovation leaders who are excelling with their companies and teams. Our panelists will focus on growing a thriving team and business with persistence. Hold on to your seats because this conversation will move quickly and inspire our companies to take a closer look at how to move forward in order to thrive. Leading today's discussion is Tony Aguilar, founder CEO of Chipper. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Emily. Hey, everybody. I'm Tony Aguilar, founder and CEO of Chipper. Chipper is your student loan concierge. We help people find the best repayment plans and help them chip away their debt faster. Today, I'm so excited and honored to be moderating this panel. As a founder, I know how hard it is to build teams, to build companies. All of you guys watching You're building great companies, you're building teams, you're trying to grow, you're launching products. It's so hard. And then like a pandemic hits, and our plans, our strategies, just our everyday way of working is completely flipped upside down. So what does it take to stay on course when things get tough? How do we continue to lead our teams when there's so much uncertainty in the air? That's what we're going to be talking about today. We have 3 of Austin's entrepreneur rock stars to talk about the grit, persistence, and determination they needed to grow their thriving businesses before COVID, and how they use those same skills to adapt during this pandemic. I'm really excited to learn on how we can all become great leaders today. Please join me in welcoming John, T, and Brent to the stage. To the screen, stage. Hey guys.
Hey.
I just want to say how much of a treat this is for me to be part of this conversation with you guys. I've looked up to a lot of you, for a while now, and I think I speak on behalf of Austin that we're just really grateful to have you guys in our community. So thank you guys so much, and we really appreciate you spending time with us today.
It's Tony.
Yeah, tell you guys a little bit. We'd love to learn more about you. Tell us about your company, some of the big accomplishments that you guys have achieved over the years. And I want to know, what's your favorite local restaurant as well? T, how about you kick us off, and then we'll go over to Brent and John.
Great. So thank you. I'm super, super excited to be here on the panel with superstars and to share and get a little vulnerable to share, and maybe our story can help someone. That's what it's all about. So my name is Tahjar Roamartinez. I am the CEO and founder of Cyber Warfighters Group. And so Cyber Warfighters Group is a cybersecurity solution firm, and we help companies protect and secure sensitive data.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Brent Bellm, CEO at BigCommerce. We are a software as a service e-commerce platform, the second biggest one in the world. Serve companies of all sizes when they create and manage their online stores, including local businesses like Tyler's, Bicycle Sports Shop, and Lamb's Candies and Rudy's. We IPO'd during the pandemic by what our investment bankers tell us was one of the most successful software IPOs in history, but it was a long, tough journey to get there, especially during the pandemic. Love to share that story. Before BigCommerce, I was president and COO at HomeAway.
Hey guys, John Berkowitz, co-founder and CEO of Ojo Labs. Ojo Labs has a technology platform to help consumers be empowered to make better decisions all across the home journey. So we help people search for homes, get connected to expertise, and make the complex kind of journey of purchasing and selling homes much more simple and on a consumer-friendly set of terms. Honored to be here, and thanks, Tony, for having us.
Yeah, guys, I'm so excited for this conversation. I want to start off with you, John. You've built 2 incredible companies, here. I think you ran Yodel for 10 years, sold it for a couple bucks. I think it was like 350 million or something crazy like that. And after that, now you're building Ojo, and you've raised an incredible amount of money, especially during a pandemic, which I think is very, very difficult. I found a quote from somebody that you coached along the years, and this is what it says. John is one of the best leaders I've ever worked for. He's someone that consistently made everyone around him better, only expected the best from everyone on his team, and went out of his way to make sure that they were successful. You have to have some characteristics to really lead 2 incredible companies that you've built. John, what type of leader does it take to build the types of companies, at your scale?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. A quote that I've never heard. So thanks. Can honestly say I didn't pay that person to do that. Look, I think we can throw some buzzy things out about leadership, but I think it's most important to think about leadership at any given time, right? Companies go through different stages, and companies go through different periods. And I think just relative to this panel, think kind of hard mission and really tough times. I think what leadership has to do is a couple things. I think one is be obsessed with, I like to refer to it as superpowers. What are your teams and the people you need? What are their very specific set of skills that differentiate them? And being really good at about identifying who those people are on your teams that do what better than anybody else you know is really critical, because you have to empower those superpowers and get them to work together. Another big one is I think you have to rally the team around something significant, because in a time like this, it is so overwhelming that if there is not a North Star that is more significant than the paycheck and the day job, it's really challenging to navigate all the confusion and kind of overwhelming inputs that we all have. And I think a great leader does a good job of finding the right people to do the right jobs and then organizing them on that kind of North Star.
You said something that really stuck with me, like finding people's superpowers, right? And making sure they're using those to, excel, move the company forward. How do you do that? How do you find somebody's superpowers? Because sometimes they may not know it, right? And you kind of got to dig it out. Like, how do you discover that superpowers and let people know, what they are? Yeah.
First, you don't look for well-rounded people. All superheroes have weaknesses. When someone tells you how well-rounded they are, I see that as a weakness. For my organization, there's good, well-rounded people in this universe. I pride myself in surrounding myself with people that are probably not as well-rounded. You ask hard questions, you dive deep on their experience, and then you empower them to try things they haven't tried before. And very quickly, when the stakes are real, and it's high pressure, people's superpowers naturally come out, because it's the kind of innate abilities that come out when all the BS goes away and it's made or break. You will find in a time like this, people's superpowers are actually pretty easy to identify if you look for them.
I want to comment on, I had no idea you were going to say that, John.
This is unscripted.
I could possibly agree with you more. I mean, I think that's exactly how I look at people and look at leadership too. And for me in my interview process, that is truly half of what I interview for, is trying to figure out, I don't go into an interview with a presupposition that I'm looking for a specific superpower in an individual role. I try to go in with an open mind and spend half my time interviewing to figure out what is the superpower, how big is it, and being open-minded to what type of impact it might have for our company, while at the same time figuring, okay, if the superpower is X but not Y, how do we bring in and benefit from X but compensate for Y?
Yeah.
But to me, it's like it's what I focus on in an interview. I do not focus on experience and checking the box around that, and I don't even fixate on personality match, because I don't believe so much in cultural fit, but cultural addition, which doesn't presuppose a specific personality type. But I love the superpower answer, and I think you can interview for it, but it's a very different type of interview.
What's really interesting is I ask, it's the only canned answer question I ask is, what's your superpower? And then what's your kryptonite? Never does somebody know, but how they answer it is very revealing of what their actual superpowers are. So the question's valuable, but don't listen to the answer. Listen to how they deliver it.
Jumping off on that, Brent, are there any questions that you like to ask in those interviews that kind of draw the superpower powers out?
Yes. So what I do, it's actually the second question. I won't tell you the first in case anybody with me. I like some surprise. It's literally that. I'll describe the breadth and depth of the role, and then I'll say, what is your superpower? What is it that you believe you do better than anybody else who might interview for this same job? It could be a skill. It could be an area, a functional area of expertise. It could be a way of thinking and approaching or team building, but I let them answer the way they want. And then I ask second and third degree follow-up questions, basically testing them to prove it and show me what are tangible examples of how big that impact has been, to see if this person gets results
that reflect what they say is their superpower. And then if so, I try to imagine what results could we get if they brought that same skill.
It's fantastic. Wonderful. T, we've all heard that leaders need to have grits. They need to have persistence. We've heard these things before, but what does it really look like? What does persistence look like? And can you build grit?
So thanks. That's a great question. And I had spoke just before in the beginning, speaking about we need to be vulnerable. And so the best way to really personify that, I want to share a personal story. So every morning I woke up to prepare for high school, and I looked in the mirror. I tucked a razor blade between my gum and my cheek with the sharp side up. And I walked 10 blocks through drug, pimp, and gangster-infested neighborhoods. And then I took a 1-hour train ride to attend my STEM-focused high school. No matter what, nothing got in my way. I got up every day and I made that journey for 4 years. So talk about persistence. Going through that, you develop grit or mental toughness, and it builds the habit of excellence. And that grit led me to serve in the United States Army as an officer and through 4 combat tours, and then retiring 22 years and after protecting the nation's most secure and sensitive data. And then going through that journey, cultivating habits of hope and optimism, which fast forward led us to this conversation today to feed my passion for business, life, and legacy. So, and especially today with COVID, we all have the opportunity to build upon and grow our grit, our mental toughness to get through these tough times. It takes adversity.
I didn't know that story about you. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people that need that push, to start building that persistence, right? Just that need that little kick forward. Any advice you can offer people?
Well, what we share with our teams at Cyber Warfighters Group is, number one, show up. Show up when you don't feel like getting up and starting the next day. Form habits. Develop habits to keep pushing through and pushing forward and pressing through the pressures of life. Continue to get up and encourage and share, shoulder up each other during these tough times. So that is the foundation of the culture that we have in building team. And we'll talk about that later in the panel about building team and how to do that, especially before COVID and more now past COVID, and how to grow grit, be persistent, and challenge through these times to get out through the other side.
That's incredible. Thank you, T. So I think one of the things that a lot of us leaders, especially like young leaders, struggle with is, how do we push our teams forward, right? How do we try to get the best out of our teams, but at the same time balance that, showing that you care for them, care about their future, right? Can you both be a persistent leader, but also a compassionate leader at the same time?
You want me to? I'll take it. Shit, I'm still processing T's story, which I'm realizing I don't have grit, so I'm not going to answer any more grit questions. T will be running a training at Ojo, hopefully, if I can convince her later on grit. Processing, persistent, and compassion, if that's the question, Tony. Look, I think it's super interesting. I can't tell if it's just coming from pure bias that, in my mind, those things have to go together. But the way that I'd essentially sell you on my point of view that they have to go together is that persistence without compassion will not be as effective, and compassion without persistence won't be as impactful. It will not be as meaningful, right? And so I think you have to think of those as one. if you are going with a big, hairy goal and you are trying to survive big missions and hard times, you're going to have to approach that with a real human lens and understand who is on the team and the impacts of that work. If you don't, like, you're just not going to be effective, right? You can bang your head against the wall 100 times. You're not going to bang your head through it. And you have to think more open in how you do it as a person. And then just being kind in this world isn't good enough. You have to really think about how you beat down obstacles to let that compassion go through. And I think as we lead organizations with our teams, those just go together. There is no and or. In every decision, it must happen. We are going to proceed at all costs, but we're not going to lose who we are as human beings and what's important to us, and we're going to accelerate that.
To dive a little deeper into that, so you said that impact and purpose kind of play a role in the way you lead, your team, is the way you lead Ojo, right? So typically what we see, right, is what's on the front page of the Austin Business Journal, or what we see like in the news, right? But it sounds like there's some real purpose, there's some real impact built, behind the scenes that the Ojo team sees. What are those things? And I would love to see how the other organizations are, talking about impact and purpose as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, we 2020 was like product market fit for everything that we've been trying to do as an organization for the last 5 years, which I wish a pandemic wasn't what delivered all of this world. But let me tell you what my company does. My company believes that real estate is very personal, and that even us four who come from kind of big CEO backgrounds, all this different stuff, we approach real estate much different than each other, and our needs are very personalized. And so we built a product that says it assumes nothing about you, and it is going to help you go make these important decisions based on who you are and where you're starting from. 2020, which has kind of awoken us to massive social injustice, all these different things, starts really bringing you into housing, right? A lot of the things that are affecting Black America are disgusting as they persist in the housing industry. And so what we started realizing pretty rapidly as we became a kind of awake to this reality of 2020 is we had a responsibility to take our technology and start putting that to real good, to help people make better housing decisions, to meet them where they are, not to assume that home ownership is generational. And I think once you realize, like, oh crap, I'm in that place where I actually can make a real difference, and this isn't just writing on my coffee cup, this is a role that I can play in making the world better. You burn the ships if is probably a good example. You don't have a choice, and that is a burden and an elevation that leaps an organization forward. And we're feeling that. I think there's no more like, should we do this? How should we do this? It's like, oh, we don't have a choice. Run. We're experiencing that at Ojo Labs.
Yeah, and 2020 has been a wild ride for everybody. I know, Brent, you guys were looking at an IPO earlier in the year. The pandemic comes through. That has to make things so much more difficult. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the BigCommerce IPO story. And seems like things have gone incredibly well since August for you guys when you guys came out with the IPO. So would love to learn a little bit more about what you guys faced and how your team dug through.
Well, there's a bit of a train wreck on the path to get there. We had been preparing for, and we're far along in the process for an IPO in April. We had already confidentially filed, gone through multiple rounds of comments with the SEC. I was in the middle of the testing the waters pre-roadshow in London when people stopped being willing to meet with us. The next week, pandemic was declared. Now, all of a sudden, not only is IPO off the table, but we're looking at our balance sheet, which was funded to get us to IPO, but not beyond that, and starting to panic a little bit. Do we go raise more money? Do we take an offer to buy us that was on the table, but we had rejected? And there are board members who want a certain outcome. There are management team members who want a certain outcome. I was in a very small minority that as soon as I saw our business taking off coming out of this, wanted to kind of actually lean in. And eventually I had to get everybody else onto that same page. But it was crazy. I mean, I was waking up every day and feeling the same kind of adrenaline and butterflies in my stomach that I would feel before like a marathon or another race that I had been training for months, because it was another battle every day to try to get, all the various constituents onto the same page, which we ended up succeeding in doing and making that decision to resume the process on a very fast track and go out as one of the first, not the first, but one of the first companies to do so. And what I would say in all of this is I was facing these, for me, unprecedented challenges, and how do I lead through this? The concept of grit and resilience was not on my mind. There's another concept that I just want to throw out there for those unfamiliar with it, which is, for lack of a better term, called anti-fragility. It was coined because there's not an English language word or any language word for it by an author named Nassim Taleb. And the notion is that there's a third category of response to stress. Category one are things that are fragile, things that when stressed can break easily. And I've seen a lot of societal fragility in the face of this pandemic. There's a second concept, which is resilience or grit, which is when stress, you hold firm and you don't break. You may bend, but you don't break. But there's not an English language word for the third category, anti-fragility, something that when stressed actually gets stronger. And what are examples? Well, your bones and muscles are examples. As you exercise and stress them, they get stronger. In a lot of ways, your immune system, when confronting bacteria and viruses, they actually take that in and they make themselves stronger. So the question amidst all this stress was, and I'm confronting all these new challenges every day, how do I get stronger as a leader by figuring out how to overcome these? How does my family get stronger amidst all these stress? My marriage, my kids, our ability to live together and understand each other and be a better family for having gone through this? How does my company get stronger as a result of all of this? It's this anti-fragility. And I encourage people to read the book Anti-Fragile. There's controversy around some of the mindset and writing of the author, but even the people who are critics of the author love the concept and say there's a lot of truth to it. My point in all of this is that there's a higher level aspiration than resilience and grit, and that is actually taking adversity and using it to make yourself, your organization, your family, your relationships stronger.
Sorry, I just had to take a note on that. I'd never heard of that before. Like, I'm gonna go look it up. Like that's awesome. You touched on something though, that when you're going through these tough times, it takes its toll on you, right? You're getting up and you're facing something that none of us has faced before, right? You're trying to build a company, you're trying to IPO, you're trying to raise money, you're trying to grow your company, right? But you have to take care of yourself, right? Like you can't break. You got to stay resilient for your team, for your family, for everybody around you. What are some things that you guys have done in your careers, to really work on yourself, right? And just self-development stuff, growth, self-growth stuff like that you guys have done to really keep yourself in check. Because as founders, as leaders of company, not many people know exactly what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. Brent, would love to hear from you.
Briefly, for me, my magic trick is endurance exercise. I wake up every single day. I went 5 months straight without missing a day. And as soon as I'm done cleaning out my email inbox and kissing my kids goodbye to school, I'm on my bike or I'm running for an hour Monday through Friday. It's 2 to 5 hours on Saturday, Sunday. That is my stress relief. I find that my ability to handle stress and adversity is 10x better as long as I have that stress outlet, which is endurance exercise. It may not be the answer for every person, but that has worked for me for 25 years.
It's incredible.
So I'd like to share something I took on new during COVID, the work-life balance. And so my morning begins off with a spiritual or internal self-time. So I now invest time in me, time in my family, physical. As just mentioned here, I go on a rigorous walk for about an hour and eating healthy and green juicing. And then more than ever, I am seeking out coaches to add to build me bigger and stronger, coaches and mentors as well. And that's really what I've been doing. And then from the top down, implementing that within the organization. And I'll explain that later in the panel.
I think my three, one, I don't do nearly consistent enough, but I know it's so good. I have to reach a real rock bottom of mental health where I start consistently meditating, but it absolutely saves me. I'm doing it right now. It's good. That's probably a bad sign. But I just need to do that more often. It is so good for centering. I'm a huge fan of meditation. The other one is surround myself with people like you three and all the other people. Is just seeing diverse perspectives from other leaders is just really empowering to be like, hey, my challenges are not that unique. And although I can describe them, it's super helpful to see others and how they're handling them. And then there's a less traditional one, which is just playing with my 4 young boys, because it's really centering to realize whatever the hell I'm dealing with at work, it's not that important, because my 1-year-old, my 4-year-old, and my twin 13-year-olds just don't give a crap about it. And what they are thinking about in life is kind of puts it in perspective. So all of mine are all about kind of finding perspective to get up and do it again the next day.
I want to build on something T said in perspective, and that is when people are under stress, they tend to gravitate based on their personality type to a certain style and set of coping mechanisms that they use to get through stress. And the point I want to make is that although whatever an individual may gravitate to could work for them, it may not work for those around them. So one of the things in full sharing I experienced is by the end of the process that we went through to agree to resume the IPO process, I'm feeling like a superhero because I got us through all of this. And then I heard my leadership team all telling me, you didn't bring us along. I thought I had, because it was a lot of conversation, but it was one way. It was me telling them where we're going. They weren't brought along as a team. And although I was helping to make myself effective, I wasn't making the team effective. I wasn't leading successfully. And so they made me self-aware that I was falling into a hard style, and I needed help to do the things that are not my natural inclination, that are not my biggest strengths. And I went straight back to a coach that I worked with 5 years ago. I said, I'm falling into the same track that I did 5 years ago. I need help. I need to be reminded to behave and do the things that are uncomfortable for me, because I have to, in order for my team to be effective, in order for them to be brought along. And so it's like the huge discomfort zone for me. And I need that outside help and perspective. I can't just rely on myself to be the best leader possible. And I would encourage anybody, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling challenged, sorry, it's my phone. And a telemarketer, gone. Get that outside help or perspective, somebody who can help you see the things you can't see in yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome, guys. So, we hopefully things are starting to pick up, and the pandemic, hopefully we're getting in control of it, and maybe our businesses start to grow again. I know, for Chipper, and I know a lot of you watching, transitioning from, being in the office to a virtual, world was very stressful. It was very confusing. It was very hard, to make that transition so quickly. But now as our companies start to grow again, what are some things that we can be doing to take our companies from, good to virtually great? T, would love your perspective on some tools or processes that we could be implementing.
I'm glad you said that, as I am moving forward on the communication side, installing Google Fiber. So didn't want to endorse a product, but it works. But on the serious note, from top down, is first there was a commitment to daily communication to the teams. And then we also do a daily 15-minute standing meeting where we highlight issues, concerns, or even praising teams for what they're doing well. And in that space, what we're now doing, is gathering information or data to find out 3 things that employees may be struggling with. We find out, for example, it may seem very small to us as a leader, but struggling with one of our employees sharing that she's dealing with homeschooling and then walking the dog. And so we're trying to figure out if we have enough people who are within a certain location, can we coordinate them, their remote dog walkers, and outsourcing that service to maybe walk an employee's dog. It not only let them know that you care, but it's more than just we're family. And so family, as we say, we close ranks, we cover down. And we're still fact finding the effectiveness of that, but really getting to open up and learning where our employees are stressed and figuring out how can we help ease some of that stress, no matter how small, organizing dog walkers or seeing how we can pull together maybe some third-party coaching to provide to middle and senior management, even down to technical team leaders. And then we have a weekly virtual social hour outside of work hours. It brings people, what I find, when they can pierce into your home and see what you're like and what your home is like, it just galvanizes the team and the work culture that we have at Cyber Warfighters. It just reinforced what we were doing. So doing what we were doing and taking these additional steps during COVID, we found that to be very effective.
That's incredible. I think you need to run a workshop on like how to do all these things. We would learn so much from you. This has been an incredible conversation. We're going to take a couple questions from the audience here. This is from Brittany, and this is for you, T. What advice do you have for building grit in a team, especially anything that you've learned during your service for building grit in others?
So Brent, do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
Yeah, you first, T.
Okay, sure. So definitely I will hit on communication, be an over communicator. And then to ease the pressure on team, you have to have processes, or if you're from the Northeast, processes that will leverage technology. And having exercises, really reinforcing the team and keeping so what we do is within myself, I'm a little more personable than some others on the team. Being able to open up and admit what I messed up that week. I learned that from some of my military days. There was officer gatherings, and whoever messed up something from an operation order to an exercise, you got something they called the DAM award, and it stood for Dumb A Man Award. And so you were able to stand before your peers and says, here is how I screwed up this week, and we're able to laugh about it. And so it worked well for me for 20-something years while I served, and I just carried a lot of those characteristics and traits and ethics into business, and it really served well having a large population of veterans that continue to serve and protect data in the cloud as we protect data out, as we protect lives on the battlefield, taking that same due diligence and due care with people's livelihoods, protecting their data. That's what really worked well.
Brent, anything you want to add to that?
The thing I'd add is I didn't start BigCommerce. I took over for the founders. And when I walked in, my observation was that the bar for excellence and the bar for drive and ambition was set way below what I set for myself in everyday life. Let's call it a 3 out of 10. Mm-hmm. And you can't just suddenly raise the 3 to a 9 and expect people to know how to jump that high or want to jump that high. You do it steadily. So you walk in and you say 3 isn't good enough. It's now 5. And you see who has the will to jump, has the skill to jump, right? And then they're raising their game. The ones who can't, you try to help them, and then they've got to go, right? Then you raise it from 5 to a 7. The next group, if they can't get to there, then they've got to go. Until you get it to let's call it a 9 out of 10. You don't want to make it a 10 because people are going to fail too often. But set it at least an 8 or a 9 out of 10. And for every problem, you basically approach it as a company with a mindset of what's the best reasonable ambition we can set to achieve on this problem. And if you fall a little bit short, that's not failure because you set your goal really high. Set a really high goal, fall a little bit short. Well, you learn from why you fell short, but you applaud the ambition and the effort, and you just keep doing that consistently. It becomes, in essence, an organizational mindset and way of life. So if suddenly you confront more adversity than normal, it's not a shocker to you. And in my company, we have 500 competitors around the world, and all of them other than us had a head start on us. They started before we did. So it was always going to be hard. We had to rise above with better strategy, better execution, kind of better everything, or else we were going to get beat left and right. It's always been tough, but you can rise above 500 others if that's your mindset.
Awesome. We'll take another question from the audience here. Any advice for somebody in a new leadership position with employees who are having a hard time dealing with the pandemic?
Yes, I like to take that one. The first thing is seek mentorship. Talk to your colleagues out there and learn, find a company similar or someone within your ecosystem and have coffee with them, even virtual coffee. If it's a stressful time, have happy hour with a glass of red wine and start to build the know, like, and trust factor to kind of really open up, because until you open up and explain, you will be suffering in silence. So definitely seek out coaches and mentors, but even starting with the people that's in your industry or in your verticals, reaching out and starting having conversations. One of the things that I did with a company that I want to, they're specifically in my vertical, and I have a goal that says, I want to reach this revenue and this size. And I reached out to the CEO, and prior to COVID, had coffee with him. And I keep the conversations going. And I started with an interview process because he didn't know, like, or trust me yet. So I said, I would like to interview you. And in that interview, I crafted 20 very specific questions that opened the dialogue for me to learn from him and for him to learn me as well. And it fostered a natural friendship to this day.
Yeah, I'll add to it as well. I think whether you are, been doing it for 30 years or today is your first day, leading right now with the reality that you can't predict the future,
Correct.
that you are uncertain on how to navigate this, and to come from a space of learning and not assuming, I think is leadership at all levels right now. Because there are a lot of different people that are reacting to this from all different perspectives, right? You have kids, you don't have kids, you're alone, your house is overwhelmed. Everybody's coming at it from a different perspective. And I think you want to be not assuming and sincerely seeking what are people struggling with and communicating frequently and honestly that you don't have it all figured out, and just be on this journey of trying to make it better. And I think it is a really leveling thing for everybody to see leaders who are just sincerely saying, I don't know right now. We've never seen this, but I actually care, and I'm trying to figure out how to help us all get through it. I think there's not a magic wand, and I think being really sincere about it will help people get more comfortable, share what's going on, and surface some of the creative ideas that I think T kind of surfaced earlier.
That was incredible advice. I think for me, that was the most impactful thing today, because I think as a leader, a founder, a CEO of a company, like, your team is going to you for all the answers, and hey, you got to navigate the ship. We're going to follow your lead, right? And sometimes you're uncertain about what's going to happen, but you have to show this confidence. You have to show that the game plan you guys have put together, is going to work, even though you have no idea, and you're staying up at night because you're scared or nervous about it. That's incredible advice, and that's something that I'm going to take to heart and back to my team at Chipper. Is any anybody else want to chime in there on like some ways that we can communicate better to our team in these uncertain times of, you know, practices of being transparent or being more honest, you know, with our teams going forward?
Yeah, I'd like to add one thought. In an environment where people are interacting remotely, it becomes a lot easier for people to behave in passive aggressive ways or less socially constructive ways than they do when they're face to face with somebody. And for those employees, and inevitably there'll be some who don't have other outlets for their frustration, they may bring them to work and they may be exhibited in these remote environments in ways that you wouldn't get in person. So in terms of how to deal with that, I've been trying to help our team practice two things. Number one is you have to actually confront it. You have to call it out. If people are suddenly behaving in unconstructive, critical, negative ways, this isn't an environment where an organization can possibly be strengthened by that. You need to call it out and be direct with those people. But on the flip side, if there's one muscle that I'm hoping that both my family and my company is flexing right now, it's the muscle of grace. The muscle that says, let's assume good intent. Let's recognize that this person doesn't normally behave this way in person. And rather than, you know, put this person on the chopping block, let's call it out and say, I'm perfectly willing. This is how you're making me feel. I want to start over. I want to forgive you for this. And that practicing of grace and forgiveness and assuming good intent is absolutely essential in a time where lots of people are stressed, and some people will bring that to work and use colleagues or work as an outlet.
Totally agree with that.
Can we go on for like 2 more hours?
I'm calling all you guys for personal advice in a little bit.
Call me. I'm more than happy to share with my friends and call me.
Yeah, like we're recurring the hour going, and everybody can jump in like every week. So guys, this has been so enlightening, so insightful. We just want to thank you guys so much for sharing your knowledge, your experience, you know, your insight with us to make us all become better leaders. Congratulations to all of you for all the success that you guys have had. Again, we are so grateful to have you guys in our community here in Austin. You represent our city so well, and you guys are the example that we're all trying to follow. So thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. All right, back to Emily.
All right. Thank you, Tony. That was so wonderful with all the panelists. Very inspiring, and my heart is racing to want to do all the things you guys are doing to make such a great impact on your companies. Now we're going to move on to the awards. This section of awards is for the tech and innovation companies with 1 to 10 employees. So congratulations to all our nominees in this category. Well done. And in no particular order, our first A-list award winner is the Etho. The Etho provides a one-stop online shop of highly curated products for every facet of life. It connects consumers with women-led brands, and its business support software empowers female entrepreneurs to manage and scale their businesses. Congratulations. Our next A-list award winner is Measure. Measure works to use data and education to mobilize communities to eliminate social disparities. It uses its CARE model to elevate the voices and life experiences of marginalized communities, and they are motivated by the urgent need for justice. Now, congratulations to the Texas Innovation Center. The Texas Innovation Center is the official new venture and technology commercialization hub for the University of Texas at Austin. They help students, faculty, and staff move their ideas and discoveries into thriving businesses that successfully access a global marketplace. Up next is the Laundress Corporation. The Laundress digital inventory and asset management platform helps customers reduce labor and linen supply costs. Its tech-enabled services also provide a chain of command to ensure cleanliness and to track linens in real time. That's a great product. Our fifth and final A-list winner in this category is Biomedical Music Solutions. Biomedical Music Solutions and its Sound Steps program provides and restores the ability to walk for individuals with neurological mobility impairments caused by Parkinson's, MS, CP, and stroke. They do this by revolutionizing medical audio outputs and brain function. Now, turning to our next A-list award category, the Top Tech Team Award for A-List 2020. The Top Tech Team Award celebrates an innovative technology team that has launched or updated a single product line within 12 months and whose innovative approach has caused market or customer disruption. This year's Top Tech Team A-List Award goes to AA Labs. AA Labs uses proprietary technologies to develop custom-built solutions unique to each client's needs. Recently, AA Labs saved clients hundreds of thousands of dollars to reach 100 times as many people while tracking rich consumer data in real time. Originally planned for a 3-year roadmap, the team engineered the product within 2 months to provide a metaverse of opportunities. And that brings us to our final A-List award for 2020, which is the Ace in the Hole Award. This category recognizes a technology and innovation company that stands out above the others. Our Ace in the Hole Award and today's final A-List award goes to a cloud guru. ACG is on a mission to teach the world to cloud. It makes engaging online training packed with personality for an experience more like firing up Netflix and less like a stuffy classroom. A cloud guru has created a simple and direct mission that its employees can get behind. It has stepped up during this time to deliver its mission to customers with a sense of urgency, and it has doubled down to maintain a thriving culture as the ACG team works from home. Well, that concludes our portion of the awards section and the 2020 A-List series of events. First, I'll go ahead and say cheers to all of the winners and send it back to Will to take us home.
Yeah, hey, I wanted to thank you, Emily, and I know you're about to go on vacation someplace, and I just happen to have a prop that I thought would be appropriate for you. I want to say thank you to everybody that participated as we wrap things up. A special thanks to Tony, Brent, John, and T for that fantastic panel. I also want to thank our judges. We sincerely appreciate your time and effort. Visa's been a proud sponsor of this event for the last 3 years, and we're so honored to be part of a business community that leads with so much passion and excellence, and just as important, a commitment to our community. There was a great quote from Dean Anderson that I saw in the comments that I thought summed up the last 2 days and 3 panels. If you don't feel empowered or feel like becoming a better leader after hearing this panel, you're not listening. I'm going to turn it back over to Lee to say a few words to take us out, but I really appreciate getting to spend time, and thanks for an excuse to put on at least 3 different suits, at least up top. So I appreciate that, Lee.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Will. And, thank you to all of our sponsors. This has been an amazing opportunity to launch 2020 A-List virtual. But let's get to the closing words here. On behalf of the Austin Chamber and South by, thank you for spending time with us over the last 2 days. We've asked a lot of you to show up for 3 different hours, and it has been a pleasure really to offer that to you. A huge congratulations to our 220 A-List awards recipients. It's amazing to be able to showcase local founders and entrepreneurs in our community. A heartfelt thank you to our 15 tech and innovative speakers and leaders. More than anything, we asked you to show up with authenticity, and you kept it real. I found that very refreshing, to say the least. And one theme that I kept hearing throughout our Up Close and Personal series is to have and give grace. We heard that time over and over again throughout the 3 different hours. And I'll just leave you with one thought that was shared by John with Ojo Labs in our last session. As we move forward during this time, may we all choose to sincerely seek and learn as opposed to simply assuming. So with that, may we all take care, and may you take care of your families and companies during this time. Thank you for showing up for A-List 2020, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. Take care, everyone.